B1 brothers and sisters, welcome to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. We have a special guest with us tonight. We have a very special guest with us. I would allow him to introduce himself, as I believe that a person introducing themselves is the best way. He can put it in words that I can't. So without any further ado, let me introduce to you our special guest, Sincere Love the God.
Yes, indeed. Peace, family. What's going on?
How you all doing? And the reason why I would have boosted it up, built it up a little bit more, but I'm a little bit behind schedule, so I kind of wanted to get straight into it. B1 to everybody in the room. I see our mods. Always salute to the mods. Nikki in here, and she probably had a perfect attendance in school because she is always on time, right?
Yes, indeed. Shout out to Nikki the God.
Black Light Revelations in here. You guys should check his content out. Check our brother Torian Rain. Check his content out too. They both have YouTube channels. Judah Queen is in here. Film Animation. RG Titan and Chris. B1 to you all. So let me get the banners up. If you guys don't know who Sincere Love the God is, he has a YouTube channel. He's Sincere Love the God, I believe, on all platforms. So you guys definitely want to check him out. I'm sure if you've been following me long enough, you probably know who he is, especially if you follow me on Twitter, because I've been in spaces he's been in, and we've been talking for a while. We've actually did a video collab on his channel, so you guys definitely want to check that out and go leave our brother a subscribe. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, because YouTube hates on Black empowerment channels. So it's up to us as a community to work together so we can grow.
Yes, indeed. I appreciate that, brother. As we know, they like to put shadow bans on the truth. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, I'm Sincere Love the God. For those that don't know, peace to everybody in the chat. Peace to you, brother Afro Elite. Thank you for having me on the platform. Looking forward to this discussion. You know, kind of a continuation from how we was chopping it up on my channel. Like you said, for those of y'all that don't know, I think it was last week. We had a discussion on my channel. It's at Sincere Love the God here on YouTube. I'm at Sincere Love the God on all social media platforms. Y'all can come check me out. You know what I mean? I do this. This is what we do, man. You know, B1, Black first all day. You know, speaking truth to power and finding ways to dismantle the system of white supremacy. You know what I mean? And replace it with justice. That's what we on. You know what I mean? Codified content. That's all you're gonna get on any platform that you see me on. And I'm also a hip hop artist too, so y'all can check out some of my music. I'm on all platforms. Type in Sincere Love the God. My most recent single is called The Plandemic. Me and my brother DJ RP Beats. And the last project that we did is The Spear and The Shield. And we have a new project coming very soon called The Master's Table. So y'all can look out for that.
Definitely. At the time we are in right now, we need music that empowers us. You have a lot of music that is very degenerate.
Whew.
And we can talk on that in a little bit, but let's have a continuation of our conversation from last time, which is why it's important for you as the audience to go check out his channel that we were on, so you guys kind of won't be out of the loop. But this goes for the people who have been subscribed to him and have watched that video that I was in, the collab that we've done on his channel. So
And
last
also, by the way, shout out to my co-host, Nicety Girl. You know what I'm saying? It's not just my channel, it's not just
oh
my
yeah, of course.
podcast. It's called Sincere Love the Godcast, and my co-host is Nicety Girl. Many of y'all who well, tapped in with Brother Afro Elite on Twitter and so forth are probably familiar with her as well. But she's at Nicety Girl. That's NYCTEEGURL with the number 1 on Instagram and without the number 1 on all other social media platforms. And she might be pulling up to the chat in a little while. So shout out to my co-host, Nicety Girl.
Oh yeah, definitely. Shout out to Nicety Girl. Hopefully she'll be here soon. So last we spoke, we were talking about being confused, black people being confused when it comes to the semantics of the word black and the semantics of, I guess, everybody being black or certain people being black and certain people being classified as black on their paperwork and other people who would be classified as melanated or black not being classified as black. So my question is, just to start the conversation flowing, why do you think there is such confusion about the word black? Why do you think that there's such, you know, conversation about it? Why isn't it a simple thing?
I think because confusion is one of the main weapons of white supremacy. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the main tools of white supremacy. It thrives on confusion. And um, for the most part, the word black as a classification, as a race of people, is something that was put on us by the white supremacists. You know what I'm saying? They're the ones that came up with these racial classifications in the first place. And so there are people who reject those classifications. You know what I'm saying? There are people who study certain schools of thought, you know what I mean, where there's a stigma behind the word black. You know what I'm saying? There's a legal status that coincides with the status or the word black. You know what I'm saying? Being classified as black. Falling under a certain status in the color of law. You know what I mean? And so people coming from these different schools of thoughts, people coming into consciousness from different avenues, have come across different meanings and interpretations of that word and that classification. And so those of us who have been in these B1 spaces for quite some time, those of us who studied, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, Brother Neely Fuller Jr.'s work, we looking at the system of white supremacy based on it being a system, right? And based on that system being the most powerful system on the planet Earth today. And so we're dealing with the situation that we find ourselves in, that reality. You know what I'm saying? Okay, these people are running shit. They're the ones that came up with these classifications. We're going to go with that until we're able to dismantle that system. And then we can fight about, what the classification is going to be and what religion everybody is going to be and all of that stuff. Once we get rid of this system, then we could deal with those things amongst ourselves. But for now, we have to deal with the reality that we find ourselves in. That's my perspective on it. And I feel like a lot of people that study those people that I just mentioned, kind of come from it from that standpoint as well. That's my take on that.
Yeah, you're okay. You're absolutely right. We can argue about our opinions all we want to, but at the end of the day, and it is good to have, I guess, um agreement among the group, so to speak. It's good to have agreement among the group, but at the end of the day, we live in a global system of white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't like saying this, but this is the brutal truth. They're the ones who make the rules, and it is up to us to adapt to the situation that we're in. I, as a black person, I might not want to be called black. I might not even identify as black. To me, I might be white. I might be a Caucasian person somewhere on the inside. However, in the system of white supremacy, I am classified as a Negro, and I will be treated as a Negro. It doesn't matter what I want to be called, what I prefer to be called, whether I prefer to be called black, native black, melanated, this and this. And there's a conversation to be had with how we should identify ourselves. That's definitely a conversation to be had. However, we have to understand whatever we identify ourselves with, we have to identify ourselves with that, with the understanding that we are in a global system of white supremacy, and how they identify us is more in was I don't want to say it's more important, but how they identify us is how we should be moving and adapting to. We should be moving and adapting to how they identify us, because
Mhm.
we can identify ourselves as non-black, but when the police pulls us over, you're black. When you go
Right.
to a bank, you're black. When you try to apply for a job, you're black. When you try to apply for a housing loan or a mortgage, you're black.
Right.
So you're going to be black. You're going to be treated as black, whether you identify with it or not. And I feel, in my opinion, there's too much argument over the semantics of, well, I'm black. Well, I don't want to call myself black. Well, I'm a native black. I'm a Native American black. I'm native this. I'm native this. Yeah, we're different people, but we're all black under the system of white supremacy.
Right. And I think it's fair to say that we can use some of these different terms interchangeably depending on what we're talking about, depending on what the conversation is about, depending on, who we're talking to, what we're trying to accomplish in that conversation. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes different terms may be appropriate. You know what I'm saying? But we have to be able to compartmentalize those things and not really devolve into bickering over minor disagreements when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying? We need to focus on the important things that we can agree on in order to be able to move forward. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, this whole race thing is a social construct to begin with, but that construct is a reality because there's a system in place that has the ability to enforce it. You know what I'm saying? And so we
Yeah.
can have a different opinion or a different understanding. You studied all of this history, and so you know where you came from, and you are Alkebulite and all of this other stuff. You know what I mean? But you have no system in place to enforce that classification. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
have no system. There's no infrastructure that you can navigate through under that said classification. You know what I mean?
Mm.
You go get your paperwork and change your status, and do all of that stuff and all of that, but you still going to be subject to the same rules and laws as me at the end of the day.
Absolutely. There was one video I found. I wish I could find it. It was on Twitter, I believe. I believe it was on Twitter, where the police pulled somebody over. It was a black man. The police pulled a black man over, and I'm not sure why, but he was taking him out of the car. And this dude, he was all like, "Yeah, oh, you can't do this to me. I'm a he said something. I'm an indentured citizen or something like that." What do they call themselves?
Sovereign.
Sovereign, yes.
Mhm.
He said, "I'm a sovereign citizen." He kept repeating that. "I'm a sovereign citizen. I'm a sovereign citizen. You can't do this to me. You can't do this to me." And the police, he was struggling with it. And then he tased the dude. He tased the dude, threw him on the ground, and put handcuffs on him. And this dude just kept screaming, "I'm a sovereign citizen. You can't do." I'm like, "You're a Negro. That's just what it is. You are a Negro in the eyes of that white police officer, that race soldier. You are a Negro in the eyes of the system of white supremacy. You are a Negro, and you will be treated as a Negro." This is why I don't really engage too much on the sovereign citizen conversation, the conversation about you know black equals dead in this book, and that's the legal reason that they're able to get away with this. Because we have to understand, in the system of white supremacy, there is no legal loophole. There is no wordplay to get you out of being victimized. Either you are the victimizer or you are being victimized. There is no in between. We have too many people who don't want to embrace the reality of you need to fight white supremacy in order to not be a victim of it. There is no escaping. You have to fight it in order to, defeat it. and to be free of it. There is no escaping. There is no maneuvering around it. There is no in between the victimizer and the victimized. So the argument of they're doing this because black is dead on the census or in this paperwork, and if you identify as something besides black, then you can be in the middle of the victimizer and the victimized, and you will be safe. There is no word that keeps you safe. There is no identification that keeps you safe. You are under the system of white supremacy. So that means that you have to dismantle it entirely, or you will continue to be a victim of it.
Right. And like somebody said in the chat, you know, those are more Science Temple teachings, you know, and shout out to the more Science Temple, shout out to Noble Drew Ali and all of that. I'm not here to try to invalidate that science. You know what I'm saying? It is based on law. It is based on actual history. You know what I'm saying? Once upon a time, you know, the Moroccan Empire was a world power. It was a dominant world power. And so at that time, there was a level of enforcement in place in order for you to have that sovereign status, you know what I'm saying, and not be classified as black or Negro, even here in the wilderness of North America during antebellum slavery. You had free Negroes walking around who were backed up by the Moroccan Empire, who, you know what I'm saying, was able to enforce those treaties. The treaties are real. The laws that they're speaking about are real. The treaties are real, but who's going to enforce them at the end of the day? You know what I'm saying? Like you said, the law is just I'm white and I say so. So we got to deal with that as it is. You know what I mean? So I'm not trying to invalidate, you know, the science that they're studying and all of that. I get it. I mean, you know, I was locked up in the belly of the beast, and there was a lot of Moorish brothers in there. You know what I'm saying? Spinning the yard with me, telling me why they're not supposed to be here because, you know, the police didn't have no jurisdiction over them, and, you know, all of these rights that they supposedly had. But you here with me, my nigga. We both spinning the yard, smoking rollies. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta come out of that plebiscite shit. I just say it like that. You know what I mean? Because that's what it boils down to in the reality that we live in today. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, you're absolutely correct with that. And unfortunately, that leads us into a conversation where we're constantly, because it's not like we're all going to be able to agree on the same point, the same thing. It's not like we all have the same beliefs. It's not like we all have studied the same people or have the same background. So when we talk about these semantics, which is really a waste of time when you really think about it, that conversation can be held for a later date after the dismantle of the system of white supremacy. But when we talk about the semantics of it, and everybody shares their opinion from their point of view, from their teachings and from their beliefs, and that leads to this like endless cycle of unprogressive, unconstructive conversation, which is something that we should be avoiding. Each and every one of our conversations should have an element of empowerment, should have an element of, okay, you're either having a call to action where you're telling people what they should or shouldn't be doing, you're breaking something down to make things more clear to people, you know, you're teaching. It should have an element of progression and constructiveness to it.
Yeah,
we shouldn't be having endless debates on the same subject where eventually nobody can be right or wrong, because everything is up to somebody's own personal belief and personal opinion.
I agree with that. And you know, when Jason Black was having those spaces, you know what I'm saying, stemming from this conversation that was happening with, you know, Secure the Tribe and all of that, he asked a very good question. You know what I'm saying? Okay, whatever you selling, I'm buying. They ain't black. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Okay, now what we gonna do? That's the part that we have to get to. Okay, what we gonna do now? Now that we established that, okay, we ain't black, we Moors. Okay, now what? You know what I mean? And that's really where the conversation ends at, right there. That's where the cyclical debate comes to a cease, right there. When it's time to get to the doing, and it goes both ways too, because not only do I get a lot of the "we ain't black" comments in my comment section, but I'll also get um, white people are not supreme. Stop saying white
Yeah,
supremacy.
yes.
You know what I'm saying? Why are you calling it white supremacy? Ain't nobody supreme over me. So that's the flip side of that coin that we got to deal with as well too. And I think that's kind of stems from some of the same ill logic. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That ego of not wanting to accept the reality that we find ourselves in. No, white people are not supreme. We know that that's a lie. You know what I'm saying? But there's a system in place that's based on that lie, which is a very real system. And we don't have a system that's more powerful than that system. So that
Mhm.
system is supreme over us.
Mhm.
That's just the reality.
You're right. Absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. I've gotten into it with people who, when I say the dominant society, when I say white supremacy, when I say white supremacists, oh well, they're not supreme over me, or what makes them supreme? I feel confident. No, 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 no. You're missing the point. You are really missing the point. Nobody is saying that each and every single individual Caucasian person is supreme over every single black person, but we're saying that just how you said, you put it beautifully, we are in a system of white supremacy. That is the dominant system of the world. That is the dominant system of the world. So nothing you can say can change that. What you need to do is you need to recognize that that is the reality. Now you can change that through your actions, but disbelieving in reality is not going to change reality. That's just the truth. The truth is we do live in a system, a global system of white supremacy. They are in the supreme position. They are in the supreme position. Are they supreme over? Are they supreme beings? No, they are not supreme beings at all by any stretch of the imagination. They're not supreme beings, but they have a global system that puts them in the supreme position.
Exactly.
And you cannot combat white supremacy. You cannot dismantle white supremacy if you don't recognize the reality, if you do not recognize that your position. If you're playing any game, any sport, even if let's say you're playing chess, right? You can't beat the other player unless you realize everything across the board. If the other player is beating you, you can't think in your head, well, no, they're not really beating me. I'm going to continue. Or let me not use chess because you can't flip that around. Let's say football. Um, this is like the last quarter of the game. You're 2 touchdowns behind. You can't think to yourself, oh, they're not beating me. No, they are beating you. They're in a better position than you are in. In order for you to win the game at the end, you have to adapt to the fact that they are in the better position. So I need to maneuver accordingly. You can't maneuver accordingly if you are in denial of the reality that they are in the better position than you.
Right.
So that's why when we say white supremacy, we're not saying white people are the supreme beings. Not
Absolutely not.
not by any means. We're not saying that, but we are saying that there is a system that has put them in the supreme position, that has put them in the dominant position, and they are supremacists that work to enforce that system, that work to keep that system alive.
Beautifully
So
said.
yeah.
Beautifully said. You know, somebody said they like using white fragility, but we don't live in a system of white fragility. You know what I'm saying? The fact that their genes are recessive, the fact that they are fragile. You know what I'm saying? On many levels, those things are real, but that's not the system that's in place that has them dominating over the rest of the people of the planet. You know what I mean? And also, white supremacy is the name that they gave the system. They the ones that called it that. And again, that goes back to what we were saying about the word black. They make the rules. They in charge. They in charge. So I'm not going to be in denial about that. It's just like any other problem that you have. You have to acknowledge the problem in order to come up with real solutions.
You're absolutely correct. You are absolutely correct. Someone says in the comments, y'all don't let these racist people discourage or break your spirit.
I wouldn't
I'm
do
gonna
that.
take that comment in good faith. I'm not gonna try to make any assumptions, but I am gonna try to say nobody here is discouraged.
Right.
I'm not discouraged. Our brother Sincere, he's not discouraged. Nobody in the chat room, we're not discouraged. There's one thing about being discouraged, and then there's another thing about not understanding the reality of the situation. Like I said, there's no game you can win. And I'm not saying, because this is not a game, this is real life,
It's
but
war.
there's no,
Games are based on war. So
yeah,
it's a
there,
good metaphor.
if we use war, because we are in a race war, they are trying to eliminate the black race, and we're going to be at a permanent underclass if we do not counter this. If you're in war and you're constantly losing battles, and in the army, like let's for instance use the situation of Russia and Ukraine. We know that Russia is way more powerful than Ukraine is. Now, the Ukrainians are still fighting back to the extent that they can, although they've been heavily assisted by the American government, but that's another conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But they are in the weaker position. Russia is in the dominant position. The Ukrainians who are fighting back against the Russians, they have to realize, okay, even though we're fighting back, even though we're trying to beat Russia and fend off Russia's invasion, we have to realize that Russia is in the dominant position. Because when you realize that Russia is in a dominant position, we are going to adapt from what our position is, and we can move accordingly. We can strategize according to what our position is. We're not going to be able to charge at Russia's tanks on some bicycles, because we understand that tanks are dominant in comparison to bicycles. So you have to understand the position that you're in if you want to achieve victory. So saying that they are in the dominant position is not saying that we're defeated, is not saying that we're discouraged, is not saying that they are better than us or supreme beings in comparison to us. It is saying that they are in a position, and by recognizing that position, then we can fight back accordingly. And that's what we have to do.
Agreed. Agreed. I don't know. I think we nailed that.
Yes, yes, sir. I wanted to ask another question or another comment. Let me see if I can pull up this article. Let me see. But apparently, right, since we're talking about reality, I find this very interesting. What they're doing is they are actually they're starting to ban transgenders from competing in or
Swimming, right?
transgenders from competing in female sports. Yeah, it's some article where they're trying to ban some state. I forgot what state that was, but they've officially banned transgenders from competing in
I think
female
it said,
sports.
if I remember, I think it said world swimming. World
World
swimming.
swimming. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me look that up.
Yeah. My,
Okay,
my
but
my son sent that to me actually a little bit earlier today. My son said that to me with a W.
mm,
So yeah, that's a W right there. I
okay,
mean, yeah,
yeah, here
because
it is.
it's getting ridiculous with all of this, man. Like they really just keep on pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and seeing how far they could take it with this nonsense. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, here it is. The world swimming body effectively, I apologize, bans transgender women from women's events.
W.
Yeah, that's how I see it. I don't even necessarily need to read the article. I just wanted to thank you, Nikki. Now he says that now Torian says that there is a loophole in that article. So if you don't mind, let's look for
Okay.
the loophole. It says the world is FINA, FINA, the world governing body for swimming, has voted to effectively ban transgender women from participating in women's swimming competitions. The vote, with 71.5 approval of the FINA Extraditionary General Congress 2022 and Baptist, was the latest salvo in an ongoing fight over whether trans athletes should compete according to their gender identity or their sex assigned at birth. Quote, we have to protect the rights of our athletes to compete, but we also have to protect competitive fairness in our events, especially the women's category at FINA. I'm assuming FINA is like a swimming league competition. End quote. FINA's president, man, I'm not great with names.
Hussein Al Musalam.
Okay, Hussein Al Musalam said in that statement. Okay, under the policy, transgender women must show they have not experienced any part of male puberty beyond Tanner stage 2 or before 12. I don't know what
Okay,
Tanner
hold on.
is.
Okay, hold on. I think I may have discovered somewhat of a loophole.
Okay.
Um, so let me see, back up a little bit. When they said when they said um what they won't be able to compete as the gender that they identify as, but as what they were assigned at birth. Now remember, they are actively trying to recategorize people at birth. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to get rid of the male female gender on birth certificates. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to ban doctors from being able to assign genders at birth. So this might affect current generation of transgenders, you know what I'm saying, from competing. But in the future, if somebody is born not categorized as male or female, they go to loophole right there. You know what I'm saying? And what did they say
Yeah.
just now? The last part that you read.
Yeah, he
If
said
they
there's the loophole right there.
if they
Now
haven't reached
the
puberty.
last part that I read, let me hold on, that's not the article. Let me see. It says under the policy, I'm starting here.
Mm-hmm.
It says under the policy, transgender women must show that, quote, they have not experienced any part of male puberty beyond Tanner's stage 2 or before age 12.
There you go.
However, is later whichever is later, a move that effectively eliminates their eligibility to compete in the women's category. Tanner stages describe the physical changes people undergo during puberty.
All right.
So you're hold on. That's the thing. Let me I can close this down because we already discovered what the loophole is. That's the thing right there. Because I saw that and I definitely wanted to touch on that, and shout out to Torian for pointing out that there was a loophole in there. Because as you were saying, if you don't identify if at birth prior to reaching puberty, because normally you'll reach puberty around 12, 13, whatever the case may be. Sometimes people a little bit earlier than that, but around that age is when the average person hits puberty. But if by at birth, if you're assigned as a non-binary person where you're neither male or female, then you can't say then there's a loophole that they'll be able to classify that in. And you are definitely correct, because I've been seeing that they're trying to really strip the male and female gender categories out of the birth certificates and quote unquote let the children identify their own gender. Let the children decide who they want to be, if they want to be a boy or a girl.
Right. And then
So that's dangerous.
also puberty blockers. You know what I'm saying? They're putting
Mm-hmm.
children on puberty blockers at an early age. You know what I'm saying? Somebody like D Wade's son, who's I don't know if he's actually on puberty blockers, but I'm just saying, say for instance, if he was, then he would never reach that puberty stage that they were talking about in the article. And so it says transgenders must prove that they haven't reached male puberty stage. So that means they're telling you that it's a loophole. because they're saying transgenders must prove. You know what I'm saying? They're not saying you have to prove that you were born this gender. You know what I'm saying? Naturally, they're saying you just have to prove that you didn't get to this point in puberty, adolescence, whatever it's called.
Yeah. You have to prove that. And a lot of them can do that. And this is very dangerous to the children because, let's just be real, as Tony said, this is going to mess them up in the long run. The puberty blockers is very dangerous. That's very dangerous to a child. That's human beings. That's the natural cycle of life. When you're of a certain age, your body starts to progress into adulthood. That's the puberty stage, is where your body starts to progress into adulthood. So you shouldn't have anything to prevent that from happening. That's just naturally where the human body is supposed to go. And we live in a system, like I said, the system of white supremacy that confuses people. All of this is white supremacy right here. And as our brother Neely Fuller Jr. said, if you don't understand white supremacy, you'll be confused about everything. Everything else will confuse you. You'll have a whole bunch of people who are looking at it like, well, I mean, it might be true because you're confused. You're confused with this being a system of white supremacy. You're being confused, but by this transgenderism, I'm just going to say it how it is. Transgenderism is a tactic of white supremacy. Does this mean that every transgender is a white supremacist? No, that is not what that means, because I know somebody's going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. But they use it for their evil tactics of white supremacy. They use it as that.
Right. They use everything. They weaponize everything. And you know how you know that this is one of their tactics? Because they co-sign it. You know what I'm saying? They signal boosted. There goes your clue right there. But what was I gonna say? Oh shit. Somebody said something in here. Your race is embedded in your DNA. I think they might be behind on the conversation, but that is true. Damn, I forgot what I wanted to say about the transgender thing. I forgot. It might come back to me.
Yeah, because we're a little bit, the race thing, and we need to take a stance against this. We have to take a very public, strong stance against this.
I know what I want to say.
Oh, you remember?
Yeah, I was going to say they are actively, scientifically and chemically producing a form of mental insanity. You know what I'm saying? With this whole transgender movement, with these puberty blockers, with all of this confusion that they're creating. You know what I'm saying? And small children, undeveloped minds. You know what I'm saying? You're producing a mental illness, because if you block somebody from their natural progression of puberty and all of that stuff, chemically your body is going to go through something that is unnatural. You know what I'm saying? I've even seen instances of people who transitioned early in their adolescence, and then they reached a certain age and they wanted to go back. You know what I'm saying? They matured to a certain level and they're like, yo, hold up, I was tripping. I was just a kid. I don't want to be a woman. And now it's too late. The damage is already done. And a lot of them end up committing suicide. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they're producing a mental illness. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. You're absolutely correct. And now there was something else, another video that I wanted to show when it comes to the confusion of children. Let me see if I can find it right here. Come on, let me see if I can find it. All right, this video, Tariq Nasheed actually posted this video. So let me do the screen share. Let me stop this and I can screen share this. When we're talking about the confusion of the children, it starts at a very young and very sensitive age. I'm sure you guys have seen this. Hold on, let me take it back, and you guys pay very close attention to what the child says, and then the mom, her reaction.
The mom.
want to be my, because I love you so much. And I love my daddy too.
I know you do.
I love our family.
Yeah, I love our family too, bud. Oh, you're so sweet.
I'm so feeling now.
Yeah. Thank you for putting my. You are very special.
I want to be a daddy.
You don't have to.
Now, okay. So you all know this child, he starts off by saying, I don't want to be a daddy. We don't know what happened prior to the conversation. This is just a very weird thing for a child. This is a little toddler to just say that. But he says, I don't want to be a daddy. And then he says, I want to be a mommy. And then she encourages that. She subtly encourages that as a young child. Young children can be very confused and swayed into thinking things that they don't even know that they're being swayed into thinking. Right. A child's brain children naturally absorb a lot of information. They're at a very young child is at a very crucial stage when it comes to learning. If you guys have studied child development, that's why it's easier to teach a younger person a skill or anything at all. It's easier to teach a younger person than it is to teach an older person, no matter what it is, which is why children being educated at a young age is so important. Right. So children are very susceptible. I don't know why I can't say that word, but children get confused. Children can be manipulated. Children can be swayed into believing something or thinking something, and they don't even realize that they're being subconsciously swayed into thinking that. When he said, I don't want to be a daddy, she said, oh, you don't have to be a daddy. And then she said, I want to be a mommy. This little boy can never be a mommy. Right. First off, I don't even know. I'm assuming that's his mother. I don't know if he's adopted, if that's his stepmom, because the kid doesn't really look mixed, but I can't say.
Yeah, you could say that. You could say that part. And damn sure she ain't give birth to that baby.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's either adopted or a stepchild, but I'm leaning towards adopted. And adopted from West Africa somewhere or Haiti or something like that.
That could be very true. I mean, just because, and people would assume that might be a black father. We don't even know if that's a black father. You know, what happens, and Tariq talks about this often too, you have a lot of these white parents who adopt black children, and then next thing you know, some weird things happen to the black. It's always like some weird sexual thing with the kids.
Always.
Where they're putting the kid in like male clothes. They're putting the girls in boy clothes. They're dressing the boys in girl clothes. You see this with a lot of white celebrities that adopt black children. Now, there's a lot of white children in foster care, but they skip over they skip over all the other races of children to adopt black children. And then you see like signs of abuse all of the time when they're adopting these black children. I'm gonna tell you like this. That is actually a sign of abuse. What I just saw in that one video is a sign of abuse, the way I see it.
Her reaction to it.
Yes.
I agree with that. What the little boy said is not too abnormal, you know what I'm saying, for a child his age to just be expressing a level of confusion or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But it is the duty and the job of the parent, the adult in the situation, to correct them, and, you know, course correct, you know, teach them right from wrong, you know what I'm saying? Let him know that what he's thinking, no, it doesn't work like that, son. You know what I mean? He could say he wants to be, you know, anything, you know, a duck. You know, he wants to be a bear, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? That's a child. You know what I mean? But the way that she responded to it is what the problem is. But to your point, what you were saying with the whole adoption thing, it happens a lot with these white couples adopting black children from these different third world countries, because there's really no oversight for those children once they get over here, once they get them over here. You know what I'm saying? From Haiti or different parts of Africa, you know what I'm saying? There's really no oversight, you know, once they get them out of those orphanages and so forth. They get them over here, it's like you in captivity. You know what I'm saying? And where I live at in Gwinnett County outside of Atlanta, you see that a lot. There's a lot of African kids here who were adopted by white folks. And I remember there was a girl that called up Tariq's show who was from Gwinnett County. She was an African girl who was adopted by a white couple, and the white man worked for the CDC. And she was talking about all the abuse that she endured. She was getting raped by the white brother, and all of that stuff for years. And she was trying to get up out of there. And actually, Tariq helped her get to, I forgot what country her family was from, but she helped her get back on the continent and link back up with her actual birth family. But she was from here where I live at. And that's something that's common. There's a lot of these young African kids who were adopted here from war-torn areas where they had these civil wars and all of this shit taking place back in Africa. White folks go get them up out of here, and who knows what the hell they got going on in them houses, man.
You're absolutely correct. We
Be one to the family
in an environment. Absolutely, be one. We want everybody to see you out in the chat. We're deep. Everybody, for those of you who are just coming in, we have a special guest, Sincere Love the God. He has a YouTube channel. That's why I said subscribe. That's why the banner says subscribe to our brother Sincere. So you guys can go check out his YouTube channel. We and him actually did a video on his YouTube channel. So you guys, when you go to his YouTube channel, you guys should check that out, because some of the topics that we've discussed tonight, we discussed on his channel as well too. Okay. He also has a lot of projects, music. He has music available. He has music coming out. He's all on social media, so you guys should definitely. I came in a little bit late, but I'm going to be linking all his social media and his YouTube channel and everything like that in the description below. If the mods would be so kind. Yep, Nikki's already on it. The mods are already on it, putting his links in the description. So definitely check that out.
Appreciate that, family. And if I could throw this plug out there too, just to let the family know. Also on my YouTube channel, again, it's me and my co-host Nicely Girl. We do the podcast called Sincere Love the Godcast. We usually broadcast on Sundays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time. And on that weekly broadcast, we kind of chop it up how me and Afro Elite is doing right here today. Talk about different current events and other important topics pertaining to Black society. But also, we have a series called the Black Business Showcase. And so we just finished up season 1 a couple of weeks ago. We wrapped up season 1 of the Black Business Showcase. And that was our weekly series where on Wednesdays and Thursdays, we bring on different business owners and entrepreneurs and, interview them about their journey into entrepreneurship and just chop up good game about business. And so we're going to be launching season 2 of the Black Business Showcase very soon. So if you are a person who has a Black business, or you know somebody who has a Black business, please contact me. Hit me up. I'm at Sincere Love the God on all social media platforms. Just send me a DM or whatever, and let me know if you're interested in coming on the show to promote your business. All right. So there's that as well.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I also came up because people have been asking for my email. And I developed a new, I came up with a specific email specifically for this channel. So it's afroelite10@gmail.com. So if you guys want to send me an email, you guys can send an email at afroelite10@gmail.com. Because I wasn't going to give you my other emails. I already get like a million different emails. So it's afroelite10@gmail.com. Now, if y'all send me links, because I know this computer stuff, so y'all send me links. I'm not clicking any links that y'all send me unless I ask for it. So y'all just be sending me stuff. Yeah, thank you, Nikki. It's afroelite10@gmail.com. So if I do not ask for a link, then I'm not going to click it because I don't want y'all to be putting viruses on my devices. So I'm just letting you know that for the people who've been wanting to email me things.
That's interesting, Black Light. Go ahead, finish what you were saying.
No, I was about to say, was there's another topic because I wanted to get into something, but is there something that you specifically wanted to bring up?
Yeah, that's interesting right there. They never talk about hermaphrodites, and that is a natural phenomenon. Rare, but it is a natural phenomenon that occurs in nature. You know, not just with humans, but with other species as well. You have people who are born with both male and female sexual organs, and the LGBT community does not address that. That's
Mhm.
interesting. I never thought about that either. Hmm.
Yeah, that is very interesting, and that's a very interesting point that you bring up. That's very interesting point that you bring up. They'll say gender is fluid. They don't talk about hermaphrodites.
Right. That's not one of the letters. There's no letter H in there.
Hmm.
Inconsistency is the key of dismantling the illegitimacy of white supremacy. Yes, indeed.
Hmm.
Pointing out those inconsistencies. Yes, indeed.
And that's why we have to be. You have to kind of be studious. You have to be educated. And when I say educated, education, um, I don't really use that word, or I'm cautious with that word, because when I say um, education, people think of degree, and that's not necessarily what I mean when I say education. If I'm like we should get educated, we should get our education. I mean that we should understand the system of white supremacy. We should educate ourselves on the history of our people and the system of white supremacy. That's really what I mean when I say educated. Um, Not necessarily saying a bachelor's degree or what have you. Because you just said something that was very interesting. When it comes to gender being fluid, and I've had this conversation with somebody who was talking about transgenders, and gender is a social construct, so it can be fluid.
Huh?
I said, yeah, and he came on. He called into the channel, and me and him went back and forth. He's one of those black liberals. Me and him went back and forth, and I said, okay, so if gender is a concept, why do we if gender is a concept, because they use the two arguments. They use the biology argument, and then they use the social construct argument. Now the thing is that you can't flip flop, and what they try to do is they flip flop from both. I said, okay, so if gender is a social construct, then what makes a person a gender? What makes a person a gender? And if that's a social construct, and we can say it applies and it doesn't apply, technically time is a social construct. Time is technically a social construct.
Uh-huh.
So when you introduce that argument, you're also introducing the fact that a 40-year-old, and this has happened, I think it was actually 50, a 50-year-old can say, hey, I'm 6 years old.
Right.
Because time is a social construct. So they don't really like to use that argument when you bring the fact that time is technically a social construct. So if you're saying that anything is fluid, if it's a social construct, you're saying time is fluid. You can go back and forth. So that means you can be one age 1 minute, and then you can be a different age a different minute with that argument. So they say, okay, well, from a biology standpoint, the brain, the human brain, the transgenders, they have like different, not their brain aligns more with the opposite sex's brain. So by saying that, you would have to admit that there are only two genders, because there's not a fluid different types of brains. There's a male brain and a female brain.
Mm.
So by saying a male transgender, his brain is more aligned to the female brain, like the rays and receptions in the brain and the nerves in the brain are more closely aligned to the females than they are to the males. Then you, by saying that, you will have to admit that there are only two different types of brains. And if that's the case, does your brain make up your gender? Why does your brain make up your gender? Because if you involve biology in it, you have to involve all of biology in it. Because you can't say the brain makes up the gender, but the chromosomes don't make up the gender. You can't say that. So that you get them on both ends. Because when you say, oh, it's a social construct, Okay, so if it's a social construct, then first off, well, what is a gender? What is a gender? If it's a if it's not based in science at all, what is a gender? Period. And if that's the case, why do transgenders try to imitate the opposite sex of what they were born with? If it's just a gender, if it's just a social construct, if they were never male, why are they trying to imitate a female, or why are they not trying to say that? So when you understand those arguments, you trip them up every time, because
Yes.
they try to go back and forth. If you know the science to their argument, you can get them on the science end. If you know the psychology to their argument, you can get them on that end.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just logical. You know what I mean? They cannot deal with that level of logic. You know what I mean? Because they know what they're saying is bullshit at the end of the day. I mean, some of the victims may be confused, you know what I'm saying, and really believe what they're actually saying. But the people who are pushing this, you know what I'm saying, they know that they're full of shit. The people, the think tanks that are getting these talking points out there and so forth, they know that it's not based on any type of logic, but they guilt trip people into going along with it. They try to browbeat people with these terms, homophobic, transphobic, and you know what I'm saying? Try to put all of these stigmas on you if you don't agree with what they're saying. And so people just want to keep their head down and go along with it. And then it gets further and further along. And then when you want to stop it, when it gets too far for you, it's too late to draw the line, because you've been going along with it this far. And to what you said earlier about the argument that you presented about time, that's really where all of this is going. Yes. So the person might not want to stand on that right now because it's too early. It's too early to take that leap. But ultimately, that's where they're going with this. You know what I'm saying? Pedophilia is the main agenda. They want open pedophilia because the white supremacists, that's a part of their culture. Historically, that's always been a part of their culture. You know what I'm saying? I know many of y'all who watching this right now, y'all saw a buck breaking. You know, they broke down a lot of the history of the white supremacists and how they got down sexually, you know what I mean, with the same sex and dealing with little boys in particular. You know what I'm saying? There's something about dealing with these little boys in particular that's just more appealing to the white supremacists. You know what I mean? They get off more on that. And so they want to be able to practice that shit openly without any type of negative stigma attached to it. So that's where it's ultimately going. Y'all can keep going along with that shit if you want to.
Yeah, it's interesting that this is during Pride Month, and they try to push a lot of their agendas during this month as well too. And you have to be firm and publicly stand up against it. And it's too far in the game now to just be all like, well, I'm gonna disagree in silence, because you're disagreeing in silence. They're able to say, well, most people really agree with it. It's only the few who speak out. I know they're just haters. They're just transphobic, homophobic. But in reality, most people don't agree with this.
Right.
Most people don't agree that gender is a fluid concept and you can go back and forth. And most people don't agree with you can go back and forth with age. Most people don't agree with all of this stuff. Most people don't agree that you should be teaching second graders sexuality. Most people don't agree that that stuff needs to be in cartoons. Most people don't agree with that. Most people don't agree with just introducing young children, especially prepubescent children, to the concept of sex in general. Most people don't agree with that. But a lot of people are shamed into being silent and complacent with it. And then there's only a few who speak out, and the few who speak out, the dominant society looks at them and they get to label them as, oh, you guys are just, you're behind, you're not progressive enough, you know, you're homophobic, transphobic, whatever, and you know the rest of society rejects you, even though the rest of society agrees. They're just agreeing in silence. So
right.
It's time that we stop agreeing in silence and we start voicing our disagreement.
Right. It's a loud minority. It's a loud minority with a treasure chest behind them to signal boost, you know, their agenda.
Yes, absolutely. Is there anything else you wanted to say on this subject before we get to the next subject?
No, I'm cool. Just keep it moving.
Okay. Let me in that, and then let me share the next thing that we were going to be discussing. Let me see. Hold on. Speaking this, and as interesting as it is, speaking of the LGBT, um, far right groups shift focus to LGBT events. Their hateful aim hasn't changed. Okay, this is from NPR, and this is when a white supremacist group was arrested for, I guess, trying to disrupt an LGBT event.
Read that headline again.
It says far right groups shifted focus to LGBT events. Their hateful aim hasn't changed. I'm going to read a little bit of it in the beginning. You can stop me at any time, sincere. Okay. 2 incidents in which far right extremists targeted LGBTQ events earlier this month marked what appears to be a shift in focus for white supremacist activists. A group of men with ties to the white nationalist Patriot Front was arrested outside a pride event near Idaho. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Near in Idaho. Y'all know I'm getting better. The same day, alleged members of a far-right Proud Boys crashed a children's drag queen storytelling event and shouted homophobic and transphobic slurs. And what Almilda I guess that's in what Amilda Caliph sheriffs are now
Alameda.
Alameda Caliph, and what Alameda Caliph, I guess that's the person's name. Sheriffs are now investigating as a possible hate crime.
No, wow. Alameda Caliph, Alameda, California.
Okay, that's California. I'm like, that's a weird last name. Alameda, California. So this was in California.
Yeah.
Now, notice this too, y'all. Sheriffs are now investigating as a possible hate crime.
Right.
I think it's very interesting how easy other groups of people get hate crimes.
Right.
With black people, you gotta backflip through loops of fire in order for something as egregious as being massacred in a grocery store to be labeled as a hate crime.
Is that labeled a hate crime even? Is that even labeled a hate crime yet?
I think it has been. They have updated it.
It took them a couple of weeks though.
You said, huh?
It took them a couple of weeks though.
Yeah, yeah, it did. It took them a while.
They were trying to figure out a way to not label it as a hate crime. It was like, can we not say it's a hate crime?
They were. If we didn't push for that, to be labeled as a hate crime, they wouldn't have labeled it as a hate crime. I remember when they first charged him, they only charged him, I think, on one account of homicide.
Right.
So it was the fact that the story was so big, and we kept voicing like, hey, where's the hate crime? Because it was really us, the grassroots, who like hate crime bill, hate crime bill, hate crime bill, hate crime bill. And they are like, oh, damn, we kind of have to push this as a hate crime because they see us doing that with other groups of people. Let me see. Where was I? Okay, right here. Earlier iterations of the Proud Front and the Proud Boys. I guess the Proud Front and Proud Boys are two different groups of white supremacists.
Yeah.
You said what?
Yeah, Patriot Front and the Proud Boys.
Patriot Front and Proud Boys. Were among the neo-Nazi fractions who sought to intimidate the Charlottesville, Virginia. So you know what happened with Charlottesville, Virginia, some years ago. So I guess what they're saying is the Patriot Front and the Proud Boys are trying to imitate that. Community at the Unite the Right rally in 2017.
Yeah, so what they're talking about is the Unite the Right rally in 2017 down in Charlottesville. The same people who just got arrested at these LGBT events that they're talking about, they're the same people who were participating in Charlottesville. They're the same groups. Patriot Front and Proud Boys were both participating in the Charlottesville rallies or whatever they classify that as being. So it's the same old white supremacists, but they're trying to say now that they have new targets. That's what they're trying to say. They're trying to shift the focus off of black folks and say, well, LGBT people are experiencing the same things, and it's even worse for LGBT people. So we got to get these hate crimes popping for the LGBT community because they ain't worried about the niggas no more. Now they're coming for the gays. That's what they're trying to say. That's what this article is, the game that they're trying to run here.
Yeah. And let's speak on that, because you notice, if you guys have noticed, that there has always been, but especially in recent times, there's been a lot of gruesome, horrific attacks on black people at the hands of white supremacists, and is becoming more frequent and more public. So what they're trying to do, and these are open white supremacists who are doing it. Right. These aren't people who are, you can mistake it. These are people who are openly saying, yeah, I'm a white supremacist and I'm doing this. I'm attacking black people. So what the dominant society constantly has to do, because the objective of them, the name of the game, is to hide the fact that it is anti-black. They're trying to cover the anti-blackness, but they really can't cover the anti-blackness. So what they attempt to do is dilute the anti-blackness by saying, well, it is anti-black, but it's also anti-gay, it's anti-brown, it's anti-Asian, it's anti-women. So they try to throw everything as if we're all equally oppressed under the system of white supremacy. Remember, that's what white women tried to do back in the feminist movement.
Let me just say something to that real quick. What they try to do is they try to make it not a system of white supremacy, but they relegate the white supremacy to these extreme groups. You know what I'm saying? So they take it out of the context of being a system, and it's just, no, it's these extreme hateful groups over here, the Nazis and the KKKs and the Proud Boys and all of these people that we have to worry about. And it's not the blacks that we got to protect, it's the gays that we got to protect, and the browns and, all these other people.
You see how easily they were able to get hate crime charges? Now, anything that happens to a black person, then these quote-unquote non-racist liberals, they're like, oh my God, it's just hate crime charges. It is just so difficult to get a hate crime charge nowadays. Like, that's almost impossible to get a hate crime charge. However, when it comes to any group that isn't black, then you can instantly get a hate crime charge, and it will stick with that group. And what's interesting is that they said they've invaded. If we look back at the article, I know I've closed it, but if we look back, hold on for a second. If we look back at the article, let me just finish. Let me just scroll through. They're saying if they shifted their focus, they're outside. Nobody is saying anything about anybody dying. They're saying they, like right here, where it says the same day alleged members of a far-right Proud Boys crashed a children's drag queen storytelling event, which is a problem in and of itself, that they have a children's drag queen storytime event. We've already discussed that. I've discussed that a while ago. Even if you've seen the documentary Buck Breaking, you would know that a lot of these drag queen storytime events, a lot of these people are registered sex offenders. Right. And they constantly make that mistake when it comes to these drag queen events, especially when it has to do with children. They constantly make that mistake. Well, oh my God, I just didn't know he was a damn child molester. So that's a problem in and of itself. But what's interesting in the article, he said, yeah, they crashed into and shouted homophobic and transphobic slurs, but they didn't say anybody was physically harmed.
Right. And they try to use inflammatory language. They crashed into, you know what I'm saying? They use transphobic and homophobic slurs, but they're not saying what they said. You know what I'm saying? For all we know, they could have just been saying, yo, man, this ain't cool to be having these kids up in here. For all we know. Yeah. That could have been their issue. Like, yo, why y'all doing this with these kids? You know what I'm saying? And that's homophobic. That's the homophobic, transphobic slur right there.
Mm-hmm.
Why y'all got these kids up in here? This ain't right.
Yeah, you're right. With the vote, you said they use the word crashed. What do they mean by crash? That they take a car and ram it into a building? That because that's what you would think when you hear crash. You hear like some
It sounds
major
violent.
destruction, but they don't specify what that was. They could have just walked in the door and then I guess crashed the party, so to speak. And then they say, okay, they crashed in and they started screaming homophobic and transphobic slurs. Are we sure that's what happened? And even if it was, even if we take their word for it and say it was anybody physically harmed? They never reported that anybody was physically harmed, but see, the article is trying to make it seem as if these alt-right white supremacist groups are focusing their attention over to other LGBT groups, even though there's a lot of LGBT people who are white supremacists.
Right. Right. And they're immediately talking about legislation, hate crimes. You know what I'm saying? Immediately.
Absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. So we can't no, you guys are getting my phone up. I'm not sure what's going on in the chat room.
Yeah, they're having a whole nother debate over there.
Yeah, something I've been kind of gazing in and out the chat. Oh, B1 to everybody in the chat room so far. If you guys have not liked, please like. If you guys have not subscribed, please do so as well. And go subscribe to our brother Sincere Love the God on his channel. And go check out all his other social media platforms and his music as well. And go subscribe to our sister Niceties, all of her platforms, which I think is just Nicety and then Nicety1 on
Nicety girl with the number 1 on Instagram and without the number 1 everywhere else.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So that's very interesting that they're bringing this up. And of course they would bring this up during Pride Month. They would bring this up during Pride Month. Now, what's interesting is that Joe Biden is signing legislation for the LGBT.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that Joe Biden has is signing this for the LGBT,
as promised.
Yes,
that was one of his biggest campaign promises. He was going to prioritize them.
So, because that shows you, and it's important for us to remember these things. Why is it important? It's important for us to remember for the reason of they, especially the liberals, like to use the excuse, oh, it was the Republicans that stopped me from doing anything. Even though we have Congress, even though we have Congress and the presidency, so we should be able to get past most of all of what we want to get past. Let them tell it. If there is one single Republican in Congress, that Republican can put all of Congress in a gridlock, and you can't get anything passed for black people because of that one single Republican. That's the excuse. They always blame the Republicans as to why certain things can't get done. There's always an excuse as to why certain things can't get done for black people. There's no excuse why certain things can't get done for other groups of people. Now, when it comes to the LGBT, they can pass legislation any time of the year. The Republicans can't stop them if they wanted to. But when it comes to black people, you see, the thing is that, as Joe Biden said, we have to get used to working with Hispanics because they make up a larger population than we do.
The Democrats are filibustering black society. That's what they're doing. They filibustering us to death.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Into oblivion.
It's important for us to remember these things. Keep these things in the back of your head. You have to be able to remember that, because too often we've been a very forgetful people, where then next time around he's banking on the fact that we forget all of the times he ignored us and ignored our grievances, ignored our problems, ignored our strife. So, right. And then he's gonna pull the Donald Trump is back, guys. Right. Donald Trump is back. I understand it's been tough. I understand gas is like $5 a gallon. I understand you guys have been struggling more since I've been president than you were when Donald Trump was president. But Donald Trump, he's back. You don't want him to come back, do you? So you have to vote for me again. I'm the lesser of two evils. Don't worry, black people. I got you. Remember after after the votes were counted up and he gave his thank you speech and he gave a special thank you to the black population and he said, I got your back. You guys have my back and I got your back. And then next thing you know, he said that America is doomed because of us. The next you heard of him, he said America was doomed, not just because of us, but because there's going to be minority white people.
Right on the button, man. That's a bullseye right there, man. That's exactly what I was going to say. You know, they count on us to be forgetful, and then all they have to do is manufacture a boogeyman and get us right back on the train using fear and propaganda.
Absolutely, man. Yo, in this chat, I'm gonna have to make some calls afterwards. But you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct with that. When it comes to other groups of people, specifically the LGBT, because we have to admit the fact that a lot of the LGBT are white. We have to admit that.
Right. And they're the ones with all the resources.
Exactly. So they get to be on really both sides of the fence. They get to be on the oppressed side, but we know they're not really on the oppressed side. They get to claim to be on the oppressed side, and they get to be on the oppressor side, even though that's really what they are. But they put the whole, well, I'm gay, so I can't be an oppressor. I'm like you guys, which is why we have to understand the system of white supremacy.
Exactly. Talk about taking both sides of the argument. They're the masters of that. They are the masters of that. Yes, double dipping. You're the oppressor and the oppressed all at the same time. It's amazing. It's amazing how, you know, most of the people who are in control of our media, what we see and hear, are white LGBT people. But at the same time, they're part of an oppressed class. They're a protected class. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a beast that we up against, family. But I think, you know, those of us who are in these circles, I believe we're on the right track, man. I believe that, you know, we're the ones who got the keys to unlock these doors to empowerment. You know what I mean? If we weren't the minority in Black society, if it was flipped around and we was the 85% and you know, all of the goddamn buck dancers and the ratchets and all of that were just the tiny 5% of Black society, all this shit would be over with overnight. With just the answers that we already have at our disposal, with just the information that we already have at our disposal. I don't believe we still need to come up with new answers and reinvent the wheel. I believe we really have it all here. We just have to reach critical mass at this point.
Yes, we absolutely do. For those of you who are just coming in, welcome to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. We have our special guest, Sincere Love the God.
Sorry.
Sincere Love the God. He has his own YouTube platform, so go check him out. Follow him on all of his social media. Go check his music out. Go check out his co-host, Nicety Girl, on all social media, and then Nicety Girl 1 on Instagram.
But yeah, RG Titan, you are correct, but there's Black people who wear little hats also, and they don't have that same power and influence. You know what I'm saying? It's the white ones. So it really has nothing to do with their religion.
Mm-hmm. Which is why we have to be Black first. We have to understand that is where they get their power from. Their power comes from their race. And I've had this argument with people before. Oh, it's not about race. It's about class. I think that needs to be a whole broadcast. It's about race. It's not about class.
Sure.
But they say it's not about race. It's about class. Oh, it's the 1%. It's this. Now, as true as some of those elements might be, let's be honest, they got to that 1% level with the support of their race. Their race
Right.
was the path to get them to that level.
Right.
We all know the shiesty stuff that Mark Zuckerberg has been doing with Facebook, and Bill Gates has been doing. We know the dirty history of a lot of these billionaires, but they're able to stay in power. Now, had Mark Zuckerberg been black, he would be locked up for
Would
some
not
of the
happen.
for the stuff he's been doing.
Right.
So it's not about class. It's not like, oh, well, once you reach a certain level of money, then you're above the law. We see with Bill Cosby, that's not the
Right.
case.
You know what else debunks that argument, that class argument? 2 words: Kyle Rittenhouse.
Mm,
That
that's
debunks
dope.
that argument right there. He ain't no damn 1%er. He's your everyday, run of the mill, mayonnaise white boy. You know what I'm saying? And he was able to get the whole system to protect him. The media, the judiciary, all colluded to get him off from those murder charges based
Yeah.
on his whiteness.
Yes, solely based off of that. Not his education, not his class, not anybody. He didn't know anybody. It's not like he had a relationship with the judge, even though, by the way, the judge defended him. You think the judge was his damn uncle.
Right.
But no, he didn't. He, like he said, he was the average run of the mill white dude, and he got one of the greatest examples of white privilege we've seen in modern time.
Somebody said, I think we do have critical mass. We're just spread thin. By definition, that's not critical mass. By definition, you know what I'm saying. If we're spread thin, then we may have some mass, but it ain't critical.
We're building. We are building. We're steadily building. But the thing is that once we reach that critical mass, to where the thing is, we can turn the system, then we'll notice that. There
Right.
won't even be any question to that.
Right.
We're a thin group. We're a very influential and powerful group that is growing the critical mass. But we have to understand, when it comes to this, like the consciousness, so to speak, there's levels to it. Like, for instance, every black person who might be conscious about racism isn't as conscious as Sincere is about it. Sincere is very well read. He's studied this, and he has a understanding that even the what you would call a conscious or pro-black person wouldn't have. So there's levels to it. We might have a decent mass of consciousness, but do we have a critical mass of B1 consciousness? You know what I'm saying?
Codification. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And yeah, there would, like you said, there would be no question about it when that comes. That's when you get mobilarity instantly. You know what I mean? Because the system only works with our participation. And so when we reach critical mass, that participation, it doesn't exist anymore. You know what I mean? When there's a critical mass of people who are on code, they stop participating in their own destruction and their own demise and upholding this wicked system. It would just happen just like that. Ain't no bombs bursting in the air. Ain't no, you know what I'm saying? It ain't going to be no big Armageddon type of event. It's just going to be a psychological paradigm shift where the system just stops working. It doesn't work anymore. The niggas ain't going for it. That's it.
Absolutely. Okay. It's gonna be very interesting when I look back at this chat room later.
I know,
on.
right?
Y'all been going off for
I
the
know,
whole
right?
time.
Black Light Revelation is giving somebody the business over there.
I see y'all. Y'all in there putting in work.
Shout out to Black Light Revelations, man. You got to
Yep.
get me on your channel too, man, to chop it up, man.
Oh yeah, go check out his channel. Our brother Torian Rain was in here. Go check out his channel.
Shout out to Torian Rain as well. Yes, indeed. Shout out to Nikki the God.
Yes, yes, sir. special salute to everybody in here. If you guys have not liked, yes, hold on. Sir. If you guys have not liked, please leave a like. So wrapping things up, is there any final comments on the subject that you would like to discuss? And if not, then we can move on to where people can find you.
Yeah, man. I think we kind of pretty much covered it, but I do want to thank you for having me on. You know what I'm saying? This was a great conversation, another great conversation, another great collaboration with you, man. Looking forward to building more with you in the future. I wish I was here when you was out here a few days ago. I was actually in New York when you slipped through Atlanta, but I wish I was here. I definitely would have pulled up on you, feel your energy in person and all of that. And looking forward, like I said, building with you some more, man. I was saying on our broadcast yesterday, we were talking about Marcel's campaign, and the topic of our broadcast yesterday was about wins and losses and understanding the difference between wins and losses and all of that. You know what I mean? And we were just talking about, the results of the campaign and some of the discussions that have been taking place since then. And your name came up, man, when we were talking about, some of the people in different cities that need to, possibly look to running. You know what I mean? Getting activated in the political space. We need more Marcels. You know what I'm saying? And I brought your name up. I was like, yo, that's a young brother who's very sharp. He's on the ball. He's codified. And you know how to articulate our message, very clearly. You know what I'm saying? And so I think, there might be a position for you out there in Illinois somewhere, man. What you think?
People have been telling me that for a while, actually. And I find that it's funny because people have been telling me that for a minute. I'm like, I'm not getting into politics.
I think we all have that same reaction because people actually say that to me. And I'm like, man, don't y'all know I got 3.5 felonies? You know what I mean? Like, not me, but I will be glad to help groom, someone who's more fit for the position, someone who's more articulate. You know what I'm saying? I think I'm a good communicator. You know what I'm saying? I know how to say what I'm trying to say to the people that resonate with the sound of my voice. But there are definitely people who are more well-spoken than me, and I consider you to be one of those. You know what I'm saying? I feel like you can speak to people who might look at the way I speak as being ghetto. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, there's a different set of people that might resonate with the sound of your voice as opposed to mine, and others like yourself. But I see something in you, brother, man. I think you should consider it, look across the spectrum out there in your area and think about what's needed and what role you might be able to fulfill, and let us know, man. We'll get behind you. You've seen the blueprint already. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I just wanted to throw that out there, man.
Yeah. Actually, I have been considering it. To be honest, I've been considering it a lot recently. I'm like, and I'm not sure like what position. I'm not gonna run. I'm not gonna run for mayor off the bat. Maybe I should. I don't know. I think there's like an age requirement to do that though. But I'm not gonna say politics is far from my future, to be honest, because as you stated, we do need a Marcel everywhere.
Right.
The concept of not the concept of Marcel, but a codified politician needs to be national. We need that in every state, every city. And in Illinois, we don't really have that. We have some who are coons, and then we have some who are super coons. So we need someone who is on code.
Yeah. And I also think, and shout out to Marcel, you know what I mean? I think one of the one of the things that made him special as well, in addition to being so codified and being able to express the message in the way that he did and does, the fact that he's a gay brother, I think that was kind of like a weapon.
Yeah,
because they can't throw some of the darts at him that they would be able to throw at somebody like me and you. You know what I'm saying? They can't use the homophobia thing and this, that, and the third, because he was against a lot of the agenda. You know what I'm saying? Even when it came to certain other issues, you know what I'm saying, besides just reparations and all of that, there were certain other issues that they could easily, throw darts at someone else. But for him, he was like kind of immune to some of that shit.
You're right. Yeah. That was a good thing. It was a good thing. And to be honest, I know a lot of people were kind of weary when they found out the first time because they know, unfortunately, we have a bad history when it comes to the LGBT brothers and sisters in the community, and they tend to go along with the dominant society. But Marcel was LGBT and he was against that 100%. He didn't even pivot on the subject of LGBT. He was like, hey, just because I do what I do doesn't mean I'm on your side. And that was perfect because we were able to throw full support behind him, and they weren't able to be like, oh, well, he's homophobic. How is he homophobic? You can't say that.
Right.
Like you said, some of the darts that they would definitely throw at me if I run, or they would throw at you if you ran. They couldn't throw at him. And that's one of the things that made them so upset with Marcel, is because you can't really get him on anything.
Yeah, it was rock solid, man.
Mm-hmm.
Rock solid. But yeah, again, man, thanks for having me, man. Good decision. Peace to everybody in the chat. I appreciate all of the engagement as well, man. It's lit over here on your channel, man. You know what I'm saying? It was going in over there in the chat room.
Yeah, they
man.
were. They going in.
You guys, make sure that you follow me, man. I'm at Sincere Love the God on all social media platforms. Again, y'all can check out the music. I got music available on all whatever your favorite streaming platform is. If you type in my name, Sincere Love the God, the music will pop up. Like I said, the latest single is called Plandemic. The most recent project is called The Spear and the Shield, and that's with me and my brother DJ RP Beats. So make sure y'all check us out as far as that. If you follow me on Instagram, that's where I'm most active at. If you follow me on Instagram, then you'll be in tune with everything that I got going on. Again, the YouTube channel is my name as well, Sincere Love the God. We do Sincere Love the God cast every Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time, with me and my sister Nicey Girl. We talk about current events and different issues pertaining to Black society. And again, look forward to season 2 of the Black Business Showcase. If you are an entrepreneur or a business owner and you would like to be interviewed and have a chance to promote your business, your products and services to our audience, please feel free to contact me so we can get you on the schedule for season 2 of the Black Business Showcase as well. Appreciate y'all. Peace and Black love.
Yes, sir. And so you all know, I will be, I came in this broadcast a little bit late, but I will be putting both our brother Sincere's information as far as his YouTube channel and all the links, and our sister Nicey Girl, I'm going to be putting her information in the description. I can't do that now, but I'm going to have to wait till after the video is over with. So you guys can always check back, and then you guys can go on those links, and then you guys can follow and subscribe to their social media platforms. But thank you very much, our brother Sincere. Thank you for coming. I greatly appreciate it. We definitely have to do this again.
Absolutely. I'm with it.
All right. Well, family, wrapping things up. Thank you, everyone. Be one to the family. Thank you very much for subscribing. If you guys have not done so, please do so we can reach 200 subscribers by the end of the month. We're close. We can do it. Please leave a like if you guys have not done so. Please comment if you guys have not. Well, please comment after if you're watching this on the playback. You can subscribe to me at the Afro Elite on Twitter and then Afro Elite on Instagram. The links are in the description below. I also have the merchandise link where you guys can go there and you guys can get merchandise. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much, family. You all have a good one. I will see you all Thursday evening. So make sure you're here Thursday evening for our Thursday evening broadcast. Until then, you all take care of yourself. Black first. That's the wrong one.